Hello everybody, this is Mateo, and we are in the 9th gym of the game. That's right, there are more gyms in this game. Last part, we got our way onto Kanto, now we're actually in Kanto, and we're fighting a guitarist, very first trainer that we fight here, and he has level 27 Pokemon. You know, just the level you would expect from an end game / post game type of thing. Yup. When I said that this game has lower levels on all of its Pokemon, I wasn't kidding. Level 33, that's somewhat better, but still, we just fought the Elite Four, which had Pokemon of the mid-40s and 50s. What happened? I mean, just the last game, or at least the remake. I know more of Fire Red than I do the original, just because that's the first Pokemon game I played, but still. In Fire Red and Leaf Green, the Pokemon for the Elite Four started at around 50, low 50s, and got all the way up to just above 60. And then all of a sudden this game, its levels are a heck of a lot lower. I mean, what the heck happened? I just don't get it. It makes it really difficult to train Pokemon. And it's just not difficult in the slightest. Pretty much everything is a one-hit KO. I mean, I kind of get the lower levels here because, you know, this is the 3rd gym for trainers who start in Pallet Town or whatever. But these levels are still a bit high for that, I think. Like, they should only be, like, mid-20s or something like that. But still, like, this is post-game, it's 3 years later, they can use stronger Pokemon. There are no other trainers coming out of Pallet Town. The 2 that went and did that have already left and gone. That is one question that I've always wondered, like, what about trainers who start in a town that isn't the first town in the game? Like, let's just go with, the first generation, because I feel like that's the one most people are familiar with. Like, what if a trainer starts in, like, Lavender Town or something, and then all of a sudden they're just surrounded. First off, they don't have access to a starter Pokemon. Second off, they don't have access, or they're surrounded by trainers who have Pokemon around, like, level 20s or 30s, where if they did have a starter Pokemon, they'd be around level 5. Do their parents, like, drive them all the way down to Pallet Town, where they can get their starter Pokemon and then they go across the land or whatever? I just don't get it. And then there's the other question of, like, in Pokemon Black and White, you start in, shoot, where do you start in Pokemon Black and White? I honestly don't remember the names. I barely remember any of the town names in that game. I know, Nimbasa and, Castelia, and that's about it, and Icarus. But that's about it in terms of town names. Oh, and in Town, I guess. Because I spend most of my time in that game in those towns. But in terms of, like, all the others, I forget. I think it might be Nuvema. I do know that all the names for the towns in that game are named after clouds. Which is kind of interesting. But I don't know clouds, so, you know, what am I going to do? Although, it's kind of interesting how I think all of the towns in every single Pokemon game have had some theme behind them. Like in Black and White, they're all named after clouds, as I mentioned. Or types of cloud, like Cumulus, and that's really the only type of cloud I know. Or Nimbus, that's another one, that's where Nimbasa comes from. And in the first 2 games, they're based off of colors, and Pallet Town, as in the color palette. And they're not, like, basic colors like red or blue. Instead, they go with Viridian, which is a type of, like, orange or yellow, I think. And stuff like that, and lavender and saffron. So, yeah, it's pretty neat. What are the 3rd and 4th generation town names based off of, though? I honestly have no idea. I know the 3rd generation towns or cities or whatever, like Sutopolis and, okay, so I know most of them in Generation 3, but it's been a while since I've played a Generation 3 game. And I don't remember, like, 4th generation town names at all, so what are those games' towns based off of? I really am curious. And what's even more interesting is that the entire regions in the Pokemon games are based off of different parts of Japan, which is really neat. Like, if you take the map of, like, a Pokemon region, and maybe turn it 90 degrees or something like that, you will actually see, like, some Japan, like the landforms of Japan and whatnot, and the locations of cities and stuff like that. And then there are also some instances where, like, for instance, this one I know in 3rd generation, there's a small cave in this one area where you can get the Sunny Day TM, and that's the only thing in there. And that's actually in Japanese mythology. That's like where the sun god Amaterasu was waiting or whatever, where it stayed, I guess you could say. And so it's just a neat little thing. They put the cave in the same place where it would be found on Japan geographically. Stuff like that. It's just really neat. And then they went and made 5th generation based off of the United States. Or was it just New York in general? I know Castilia is definitely New York. But I think the rest of the towns and stuff are based off of other places in the United States. And then apparently, Generation 6 is either based in France specifically or all over Europe. I hope it's all over Europe. I mean, France is cool and all, but I don't know if it has enough landmarks to make an entire Pokemon game out of. So I'm hoping they go for more of, like, all of Europe. So, like, one town will have the Eiffel Tower that, like, we know about, and then another town will have, like, the Leaning Tower of Pisa or something like that. It would just be kind of neat. Also, we're fighting a gym battle. This is Lieutenant Surge. He is an electric-type gym leader. Basically, every single type that we didn't run into in the previous 8 gyms, we'll run into here. Except for one, and that's Dark. Yep, Dark does not get a gym in this game. Kind of sucks. But, you know, whatever. There are 17 types, only 16 gyms. They just had to make it work out. Actually, is there a ground-type gym in this game? Not that I know. Are there? Well then. Okay, well, ignore me! Basically, if we didn't run into a gym of that type in the previous 8, we will run into a gym of that type this time around, most likely. And if you've played the remakes or the originals, you know what gyms are coming up and everything. What's amazing is, and that I really like this, is how accurate they stayed with the placement of everything in this essentially remake of Kanto. It's just really, really neat. I mean, they changed a little bit of things here and there, and you also go through the areas in a different order, mostly, so that helps make it neat. Like, I complain all the time, or some of the time, about how oh, it's suddenly dark, okay then. But I complain a little bit about how I didn't like Black and White 2 as much, because it felt like the same adventure for, like, half to 3/4 of it. But for whatever reason, I'm not as bothered by this. How they remade all of Kanto and put it into, Crystal after you play the original game. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's because you're not necessarily going from Palatown all the way to the Victory Road all over again, with some changes in between. A lot of it is changed. I mean, you start in Vermilion, for one, and then you go up to Saffron, of all things, which is usually, like, the 75% mark of the way through the main game in the normal game. And then the world just opens up to you so much. Either that, or the this part of the game is actually kind of short. If you take this campaign of the 8 badges and whatnot and compare it to regular campaigns of, like, going through Kanto the first time, or 3rd generation, or 4th generation, or 5th generation games, this is a heck of a lot shorter. Mainly because a lot of the things are already opened up to you. You just have to do a little bit of side questing to open up a couple of things. some of which you don't even need. All the gyms are already open up, so you don't have to go through too many dungeons. Like, you really don't have to go through Rock Tunnel, you really don't have to go through Mount Moon, you really don't have to go through, Silphco. In fact, you can't go through Silphco in this game, thank God. So, a lot of it is just going from town to town and fighting the gym and maybe catching some Pokemon along the way. So, it's very nice. In that respect, maybe that's it, it's just how quick it is, as compared to the other game where, you know, you go from town to town yet again, but you still have to go through all the dungeons again as well, pretty much, or at least some of them. But then, whenever I got to a new area in Black and White 2, I really enjoyed that part. So I guess it really was just how much they repeated in that game. Like, they basically just copied the Pokemon Black and White original journey and pasted it once you got to Castelia. But then once I got to the new areas, it was really fun again. Like, I enjoyed all the way up until the 3rd gym a lot. And then after that, I was kind of meh towards it. Then I got to the 7th gym and barely anything was changing. And I just didn't like it at all. And then I played through the 8th gym and stuff, and I still had a bit of a sour taste in my mouth just because, like, all of it was still the same. Well, it got different again, and I liked that, but it still felt like a lot of the sameness of it had made it not as fun as it could have been for me. But then after that, I got to the, I finally actually beat the game. Actually, finally, I just sat down one time and played through the rest of it. I was actually really close. It only took me like 2 hours or so. But yeah, we got through Victory Road, and the Elite Four, although I was kind of upset that they too were all the same. Like, I get them wanting to keep 1 or 2 the same, but they could have changed 2 of them or something like that to new people, or at least new types or something, but they kept them all the same. But it was really, really cool. I ended up really enjoying the Elite Four battles in that game. They were aesthetically cool with how you got up to them. They were kind of tough. And then the champion battle, it is just so cool. Like, the background, just the background alone, when I saw that, I was like, oh crap, that looks awesome. And it's the first time I've said that in a Pokemon game in a while, so I don't know, I ended up giving Pokemon Black and White 2 another chance, finished it, and I ended up enjoying the end quite a bit. So, yeah, that's that. That is my quickie review on Black and White 2, I guess, while playing Pokemon Crystal. Why can I never go through a video while talking about the actual video? Ah, well. Well, in the next part, we'll take on the